Hello, welcome back to the Shelley Cashman series Microsoft Excel 2010 video tutorial. We are continuing with chapter 1, which is creating a worksheet and an embed chart. So we're focusing right now on creating a worksheet, and what we'll cover in this video is entering numbers, calculating a sum, and using the fill handle. So in order to enter a number, it will be allowed to contain any of the following characters: a 0 to 9 in numerals, plus, minus, parentheses, comma, forward slash, period, dollar sign, percent sign, and a capital or lowercase e. So most of those symbols will work as mathematics operators. But at the moment, we're going to focus on just the numerals. So I did mention you can use a negative or minus sign, and you might be saying now, hold on a second, tutorial voice guy, you just said hyphenating numbers is part of a text and not numbers. So that all depends on how the hyphen or subtraction symbol is used. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But right now we're just going to focus on numerals and a decimal. So looking at page EX13, we can start to see the numbers that we want to enter. So looking at number 1, we're going to select cell B4. So just click on that and enter 74029.35. And since we'll be moving to the right across this row, we can use the right arrow to move on to the next number. And let's fill in the rest of them. So on page EX14, you can see the rest of the numbers. 92278, decimal 21, 63081, decimal 74, 84210, decimal 02, 61644, decimal 26, 8920, decimal 51. And I'm going to press enter. So these are the corporate numbers. Now we want to start filling in the rest of the table. So just bear with me while I type in those numbers. Hello, and we're back. So our table is now filled in. You might have noticed that entering numbers is not really any different from entering text, except that it's numbers. You also might have noticed that this cell right here, G8, might have been giving you a little bit of trouble, because if you're trying to type in decimal 60, no matter how many times you put it in there, the 0 keeps disappearing. Why is that? No matter what I do. Don't worry about that. We're going to solve that a little bit later. But as we know anyway, the number value isn't different with, I can put as many zeros as I want after that and it equals the same thing. So let's move on now to page EX15, which is calculating a sum. So one of the really important features about Microsoft Excel or spreadsheet program is that you can use the data provided to create sums or other mathematical equations. So what we're going to do in this section is create a sum of each column. So first what we want to do is we want to select a range of cells. So a range is a series of 2 or more adjacent cells in a column or a row or a rectangular group of cells. So I'm going to go ahead and select the B column of numbers right there. So I'm going to left click and hold down the mouse button on B4 and then drag my mouse down to B8 and release. So now you'll see that this range of cells is selected. So the next thing I can do is create a sum. So what I can do here is click on the sum button and automatically those cells that I've selected will be totaled right in the cell below. Okay, so that's one way of doing that. If we click on the cell B9, highlight it, and you look up in the formula bar, you'll notice how this works. So equals sum the range B4, which is here, to B8. So range in the formula bar is signified by the colon sign. So all the cells from B4 to B8 will be included in this sum. And that is how you do a mathematical formula or other calculation. The equal sign is really important. So another way you could do this is by clicking on the cell that you want to have the total in and then typing in exactly what you saw. Equals sum, which does have to be in capitals, by the way. And then it will give you a little guide of the range, and I can click and drag. There's my range. Close the parentheses and press enter. And now I have the sum there. I can also type the formula right into the cell itself. Equals sum, and then select my range. Boom. But definitely the easiest way is to use the sum button, which is provided right there for you. Okay, so now that we have summed one or more columns, we can use a few of the other tricks in the Excel program to make our life a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these two sums here just so that it matches our textbook. And we're going to be using the fill handle on page EX16. So when you highlight a cell, you're going to notice that there's this black box and then this tiny little black square in the bottom right corner. So that is the fill handle. And what that's going to do is you can use it to copy this cell that's highlighted and paste it in adjacent cells just by dragging it. So since we want to create sums of the whole of each column, essentially we want the exact same formula from this cell to be in here, 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 here. The one difference is the range is going to change. Instead of B4 to B8, it's going to be C4 to C8. But just bear with me and let's try this a second. So we move our cursor over the black square and it turns into a plus symbol. Left click, keep the mouse down, and we're going to drag it all the way across and release. So what that has done has it's copied this formula and pasted it into the adjacent boxes. But as you see, as I highlight these boxes, you'll notice the formula has changed in accordance to the column appropriately. So that is one of the amazing things about this program, is it intuitively knows if you copy and paste the formula to shift it over in this case. And if that's not enough to get you excited, then there is a long semester ahead of you. Anyway, moving on, we're going to have a look at page EX19. So another way that we can create totals is creating multiple totals at the same time. So on page EX19, if we follow the instructions, we can highlight this range here, H4 all the way to H9. So now if we click the sum button, very interesting, it creates a sum using the data to the left. So we have B4 to G4 in this sum, and again it knows how to do that. Pretty amazing stuff. Okay, so since we have filled in our data table at the moment. Now is a very good time to save your work if you haven't done so already. I already have, so that's why you'll see sable.xlsx at the top, and that's our file name. If you do need to save, you can do so simply by clicking the disk. That will save it, and if you haven't saved it yet, a dialog will pop up asking you to name the file. So similarly, if I go File, Save As, I'll get the same dialog, and I can type in the file name I want here, sable.xls. I'm just going to name it Sable2 and save it just for the sake of it.